Shabbat Shalom. In this week's Parsha, Parshat Bo, we already have reached the 8th of the 10 plagues. The Egyptians have had a very hard and bitter taste of the wrath of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this time, when Moshe and Aaron come again to warn Paro and ask to be let out to perform, a festival to worship God, and Pharaoh throws them out, his advisors speak up. Even in an absolute monarchy, in a state where the word of the king is law and there's no appeal and no recourse, the king can only go so far in particularly ignoring the views of his closest advisors. And this time, when he throws out Moshe and Aaron, his advisors speak up and tell him, how long are you going to let this guy be a thorn in our sides? Tyrant of Mitzrayim. Don't you see that Egypt is going down the drain because you're so stubborn with Moshe? And this time Paro, can't just ignore them, so he calls them back. But he has a very sly and sinister reply. He tells Moshe and Aaron, you want to go out and a few days march into the desert and have some festival, offer sacrifices? Miva miholchim. Who's going? Now, when Moshe answers him proud and without fear, everyone's going. Women, men, children, old people, who are all going. This leads most unfortunately to think, well, Paro was probably thinking that Moshe would say that, we're just going a small group of leaders, of the men, of course, and that way Paro could come up and say, well, after the way I'm working you as slaves, maybe it's too much for you to march into the desert, or something like that. And when Moshe comes and says, no, we're all going, this is a chance to show how egalitarian Judaism is. That Moshe said, you're wrong thinking that it's just for a small group of men. It's for everyone, men, women, children, old people, everyone. And so they make a deal out of that. And of course, that's very, very popular today. And I'm not putting it down that this is a statement that Judaism is egalitarian, that the festival is for everyone. But there is a much more sinister way of understanding what Pharaoh had in mind. And this I got a whiff of in the commentary of Professor Moshe David Kasudo, alav shalom, which I'll tell you about in a minute or in a second, and of course expand it as I usually do with a few insights of my own. Well, Moshe David Kasudo was a professor of Bible, trained in Europe in Italian, published a book in Italian and many articles on biblical scholarship. He was a part of this school of people who were studying the Bible from the perspective of the contemporary civilizations, Ugaritic, Egyptian, Babylonian, and so forth. He knew all the languages. He did not accept the documentary hypothesis, which makes him persona non grata in academia. We won't go into that right now. But his explanations really give insight into how these things look in the historical context of biblical times. And he began writing a commentary on the whole Torah. He only finished parts of it, parts of the first part of Bereshit and first part of Shemot. Now, according to Kasudo, when Paro said "Mivami Holchim," he meant what that means literally. I'm on the list of the people. You give me a list of the people who are going, and I'll decide whether, on a sort of a case-by-case judgment, whether that person should join the delegation that I will allow in this one-time gesture of goodwill and humanity and blah, blah, blah. And Moshe said, no way, we're all going. Well, when you look at this, particularly in view of, the deep dark state that we have, states that we have had and we still have in the so-called civilized Western world, not to mention the apparently uncivilized non-Western world, it really looks, mean. Pharoah, I don't know if Pharoah had a secret service, a Shabak, or a CIA, or some sort of security apparatus where he was keeping files on all the Jewish troublemakers. But I'm sure that he knew that there was a certain hardcore of Israelites who are, part of Moshe's conspiracy, who were supporting him and who were egging him on, and he probably guessed. I would think, it was very a logical thing to think that the people that he would ask to be given this special one-time permit to go and sacrifice were those members of his coterie, of his small circle of hardcore religious fanatics, religious nationalist fanatics. You can get the drift of what I'm saying. And of course, if Pharoah could get a list of those names, we know what would happen to those people. I mean, there's nothing that the security apparatus of the dark state would like better than a list of the people who are full, membership roll of the people who are conspiring against it. And that's what Pharoah was looking for. And Moshe probably knew this. And he said, no way, we're all going. I'm not going to collaborate with you. I'm not going to give away the name. Not that there was such a group. I mean, Moshe did speak to the Zakanim, the leaders. They were not necessarily his supporters. We know sometimes that the support for these type of movements like Moshe was leading sometimes come more from the general populace. But Moshe said, no way. So we have here a prefiguration of the type of things that go on in our own world, where the security apparatus is always with these, sweet message. Just give me a list of the people who we want to help, and of course we'll give them exit permits. And what they're going to give them is an exit permit from this world, bullet in the back of the head. And Moshe said no. Moshe knew what he was up against. And he said, no, we're all going. And when Pharoah heard that, he threw him out. And as they say, the rest is history. Shabbat Shalom.